Hi, and welcome to another live 15-minute snappy chat. And this is all about learning and growing in small businesses because the one thing I've learned is that I've been in business for 8 years and it can get really, really lonely. So the greatest thing you can do for yourself if you're a business owner is to connect with other people, network, build up relationships. And this way, you're going to learn and grow so much. And when things are challenging, you will have people to rely on as well. By the way, I'm Christine Bell. I'm a customer strategist, but we're not going to be talking about that today. No, today we're going to be talking with the wonderful Jodie from Texas. I'm so excited to have her here on my show. I met Jodie on LinkedIn, actually. It's amazing the relationships you can build on LinkedIn. I think it was about a year ago that I first started seeing your posts and I started liking them. I think you started liking my back. You introduced me, I think, to a wonderful guy called Carrie as well, the Lion guy as well. There was just a synergy somehow. And a year later, here we are finally talking to each other. So don't believe that you can't build fantastic relationships on LinkedIn. You certainly can. So thank you so much for being here today, Jodie. I really appreciate your time. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, thank you, Christine. A year ago, I started showing up on LinkedIn. I had joined and started being active at the start of 2023, or I'm sorry, 2022. And it was about it was probably about September or October that I stumbled upon Mike Ashebrander and the Hounds of Business and really kind of started getting some traction with my marketing efforts and my networking efforts and really started to see more real connections with people like yourself and getting to know people on a much more personal level as opposed to just talking about what I do, which is structured settlements. And for yourself in Australia, that's not something that you probably hear on a regular basis, but for people in the United States and in Canada, a structured settlement is an opportunity for people that are settling their personal injury cases or their employment litigation cases to stretch payments out over time and receive tax favorable treatment for investments that they customize at the time of their settlement.
And that is so important what you do. I don't know actually anyone except you that I've heard does this. And this is an amazing service because having had some serious injuries in my past myself, it's really, really important that we don't only get the legal advice and the legal help, but also someone to help us with the payout. So we don't just spend all the money in one go and we can make sure that it keeps growing and that we keep having money in the bank. So I love what you do. And I just want to say hello to Suzanne, Raquel, Mike, Janice is here. So
All
the
our
hounds
friends
are
came.
here. Yeah, I
That's
know. The hounds of
fantastic.
business. And they're amazing because through you, I met Mike and Raquel as well. And I'm now part of the wonderful hounds community. So big shout out to them. It's amazing.
It's
So
one big happy family.
it absolutely is. And I really appreciate that I got to meet you all through this wonderful community as well and get to know you all. So, in terms of learning and growing in business, so you've been in business for a while. What is one of the biggest challenges that you faced in business?
Oh, just one, huh? Okay. Well, there's just been a few examples over the years, I guess. But I deal in the world where people are negotiating on a regular basis. I'm often involved on cases before a claim settles, before parties have agreed to what settlement terms are going to be. Let's say, for example, you were involved in an accident and you were injured, and as part of that settlement, you have future medical expenses that you're worried about, or you have past expenses that you need to satisfy. We work with the injured parties to not only identify what their past existing needs are, but what their future needs might be. So that when they are negotiating their terms of settlement or negotiating with an insurance company or their employer or the at-fault party, options are presented that expand opportunities outside of just a cash settlement. Like you mentioned, you get a large influx of money, much like the lottery syndrome, where people will win a large amount of money and have it gone within a very short period of time. Those same statistics actually exist for personal injury cases as well. They say that over 85% of cases that are settled have the funds completely dissipated, gone, spent within 5 years. And of those, 20% are gone within the first 3 months. And this is catastrophic for people that have significant injuries because they need that money for future needs. So when the parties are negotiating, one of the biggest challenges that I see is that people aren't identifying what shared interests are. They get caught up on the other issues rather than trying to find common ground in their negotiation. Now, in a negotiation, most will agree everyone's got skin in the game, and when it's all said and done, everybody feels like they left a little something on the table, or they gave a little bit too much, or they didn't get quite enough of what they wanted. That's a negotiation, and that's just the back and forth of how that happens. But the best negotiations are done when both sides feel like they're satisfied. It hurt a little bit, but they're satisfied with the outcome. And part of getting there is to look for win-win outcomes, looking for when both sides get something that they want. So in my current line of business, which I've now been doing structured settlements for 17 years, but I've been in the insurance claims and investment industry for over 25 years. Yeah. I find that if both sides agree that they want something, that those are terms that they can anchor on. For example, a structured settlement. So if both parties agree that a structured settlement absolutely makes sense, we shouldn't be giving a young child a large amount of money and then preventing it from being able to grow tax-free. Or someone who has catastrophic injuries who needs a lifetime of income to take that away from them in lieu of a cash settlement and hope it lasts for their life. If both parties agree to that, then there's less surprises down the road when they are negotiating the tougher terms. And more importantly, after the claim settles, after the terms are agreed upon, no one's unilaterally changing those terms and throwing a new wrench into the conversation. If everyone agrees that we can structure coming into the conversation and we all work together, that's one step closer to getting that claim settled. And we're one step closer to helping preserve that settlement for years to come for that injured party and their family.
Yeah. And you know what? That makes so much sense. And taking it a little bit wider as well, having win-win situations is so important, because if you're in a small business, you're always negotiating. You may not realize it, but there's always a negotiation. Even if it's just something you're coming together doing for free, each party has to agree to it to have a win-win situation and to be happy with the final outcome and be at peace at the end. Yeah. And not going, oh, I should have, or this doesn't feel quite right. And I think, I love what you do, but I think it actually translates to a bigger, in terms of what we as small businesses all the time have to do, whether it's a client or whether it's a supplier or whether it's a working together relationship. If we can create win-win situation, it is so much more fulfilling for everyone, isn't it?
Right. The alternative of a win-lose mindset, like I'm going to win and you're going to lose, it alienates people. It'll impact your future business relationship in dealing with each other. And any misrepresentations is going to damage your professional reputation. So coming in with that mindset of trying to come to an agreeable term and doing so when both parties are getting what they want can open doors down the road for future conversations and future negotiations. You come to add value to a negotiation, to come to terms that everyone agrees to. And then the next time you're on a much more solid foundation for the next conversation or the next negotiation that comes.
So it's really a key part of building relationship in business, isn't it? In terms of, if I take it wider beyond a specific client issue, it's really around building relationship, having win-win mentality is a mindset, isn't it? In terms of going, what's in it for me, but what's also in it for, like even today with the Snappy chat, I don't just think what's in it for me. I also think, what is it in it for the guest? Yeah. How can we both win from this?
Right. And finding that common ground in negotiations, especially when things start to get heated, taking a step back, recognizing what are we really disputing about? What are the terms that we can put aside that we already agreed to and focus on the remaining issues? And that way you can work from a place of coming from a positive position as opposed to more of a confrontational or a disagreement, because ultimately many times we have to renegotiate or communicate with these people, and we don't want to damage that relationship.
So there's some real key core skills we need to have. One is obviously open-minded and being able to hear others' people's point of view, but also just keeping the communication lines open and having effective communication.
one of the best skills that you have in negotiations and communication is silence, listening. And that's
don't
how
we
you keep, I mean, that's how you keep your communication open. And just that example there, I started to interrupt you. I'll be quiet. But yeah, that pause, that listening skill, letting the person speak and hearing them out with that open mind that you're here to learn. And part of the negotiation sometimes is taking in new information and processing it and making decisions accordingly.
And that is such a huge skill to learn. And I'm a skill trained, qualitative, in-depth researcher. And I love to talk. So one of the big things I've had to learn as well is to breathe and stop and let people talk, yeah, and listen to them. Whether I agree or disagree doesn't really matter, because if we are able to hear each other, already then I believe the energy starts to change in the room. And I imagine the same, especially if you're in hardcore negotiations where there's a lot of money at stake. If we're able to just breathe, listen, everyone, it feels like the energy usually will change and people will relax more. And then that's when we start going, okay, yeah, I see, I really wanted this, but perhaps I can see it from someone else's perspective, or perhaps I can give a little here and still feel like this is really positive, what we bring, what we're creating and where we're settling at the end.
Right. By listening, you can hear the important issues to the other party. They can hear the important issues to you. And that's where the give and take of the negotiation dance happens. So finding those opportunities for the win-win solutions are one of the many things that I bring to the table when we are negotiating cases, working with injured parties and helping them evaluate options for guaranteed tax-free future payments. So it's a wonderful complement to the overall opportunities available. But the one piece of the niche experience and the niche investment opportunity that exists in the IRS tax code that most people don't even know about.
Wow. And you know what? If we're just coming in full ball in terms of just, I'm going to get my way, we may not learn all the potential advantages that are there, because we're not going to be listening. We're just going to be going, I need my way, or the highway, yeah?
Right. And if you don't listen to what the other person needs, maybe you can't bring that value to the table. So if there's something that you can give up that doesn't, it's not any skin off your back and it helps the other person, you're getting that much closer to your resolution.
Yeah. And you know what? I think this, when I take it a little bit further in terms of building relationships on LinkedIn as well, and the hounds, and we've got so many hounds here, they are going gangbusters. So I see you all. Thank you so much for commenting and supporting me and Jodie. I really appreciate it. But when we create relationships and networks where we have positive relationships, it just changes the dynamic in terms of give and take, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And you find that the more you work with someone, that relationship and that rapport builds and those conversations get easier. And while you may be on opposing sides of the same table, you have a respect for each other because you know that everyone's going to be honest, or everyone's not going to be coming to the table with something up their sleeve with, with a surprise or misrepresentation. Working together is far more successful, I believe, in my humble opinion. But there's litigators out there who love that fight too. So I'm here as a third-party neutral individual to the conversations, to the negotiations, and part of my solution is to bring that win-win opportunity that both sides can agree to, and build into the settlement, because it doesn't exist after the settlement is over.
And I think we just solved the issues in the world right now by these simple steps and these simple recommendations you're given today. If we could all stop, sit down, and listen to each other with respect and with an open mind, perhaps we wouldn't have so many conflicts in the world or even in each country, yeah?
We could solve the world problems. Yes, Christine, we just need to sit down. We could get everyone together. You and I will just hash out the world's problems. How's that?
Exactly. So I think there's so many, as we wrap up right now, we are almost at 15 minutes. I think there's been so many big lessons today that you've shared, not just in terms of the specific work that you do, but also in terms of things that we can apply in our business in terms of building relationships. It's all about listening. It's all about open mind. It's all about knowing what your absolute must-haves are and where you're willing to give and take. and it's all about building relationship and effective communication. Have I missed anything in terms of the big lessons from today?
You did a great job there, Christine. Great summary.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it, Jodie. And I've learned so much from you today. And I think it's wonderful to have someone who does something slightly different than marketing on my show, which is amazing because there are so many human skills that we need to learn in business that can really help us in terms of building relationships and building long-term successful client supplier relationships and negotiations of real skills we all need to learn. So I really appreciate that. Before we finish, how can people find you and reach out to you? And is there anything else you want to share that people can perhaps talk to you about?
Fantastic. Yes, I'm all over LinkedIn. You found me Jodie Lamb under LinkedIn or Structure Your Future on LinkedIn. And as far as my let everybody know message, if you are involved in an accident, if you are an attorney and helping your clients, we understand that structured settlements are often a term that most people don't understand. They can seem complex, they can seem overwhelming, but that's why you have dedicated experts in this market that can help evaluate the options, educate for opportunities, and our services are free of cost. But what's most important is that we are contacted before the case settles.
I'm so sorry, my husband is in the background talking. Hopefully he won't show
I saw
up.
that.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, he can't even hear me. I'm like, just shh. Anyway, that's how it is.
The mom talk.
Working from home, yeah. Thank you so much. And you know what you do is so specialized and yet so important. So I bet you there's a lot of people out there in America and Canada right now who can really use your service. Likewise in Australia, perhaps there are people like you out here, but we don't even know about them. And having been in serious accidents in my past myself, I know how important it is to have someone who can help you. And long term, if we're in terms of needing money long term, it's really important that we don't just all spend it. And that is typical, like you said, in terms of lotto winners, isn't it?
Yeah, it's our human nature. We try to use money to right the wrongs in our past, and it's sometimes easier just to indulge as opposed to like prepare and save. So just having that foresight at the time of settlement to recognize that maybe it's not even your own propensity for spending, but maybe those around you who may realize, gosh, this person just came in with an influx of money. Maybe I should go help them invest it or suggest that they spend it or loan me some money. It helps protect those people as well. Especially like myself, people that struggle to say no to things, to be able to say, look, that money was put aside for my future needs, for my future income, for my future medicals. So we help people evaluate those options. If it's right for them, great. If not, then we feel good that they were given the choice to make an educated decision on one of the biggest financial decisions that they may come across in their entire life.
Love that. I think we're going to finish here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I love what you do. And thank you for coming on today and giving us such valuable advice that it not only applies to what you do, but applies to human skills and business skills too. So thanks you so
Christine.
much.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. And thank you for everyone who showed up on the live stream and made so many wonderful comments and supported you and I like no tomorrow. And I will give a last shout out to the Hounds of Business. They're amazing. If you don't know them, please find out about them and reach out to Mike as well. Asha Browner. Is that correct?
Yeah.